Jazz classical hybrids have been standard practice since the early 1900s. Some notable examples that come to mind include George Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue and Gunther Schuler's Transformation. These and other works raise intriguing questions regarding the nature of musical hybridity. In some instances, such musical hybrids involve a composition that is clearly embedded within the classical style, but that explicitly incorporates jazz elements, such as Rhapsody in Blue. In other instances, a jazz composition or performance explicitly evokes features associated with classical music, such as in Transformation. How do musicians pull off such pastiches so as to successfully combine jazz and classical elements into a single work? In my talk, I take select performances of Pachelbel's Canon by Japanese jazz pianist composer Hiromi Uehara as a case study. I analyze various elements that give rise to her jazz classical hybrid. Hiromi first recorded Pachelbel's Canon in her 2009 album Place to Be, and she subsequently performed it at multiple other venues, notably at her live performance opening for Ahmad Jamal in Marciac in 2010. As we shall see, these performances exhibit specific devices that are emblematic of jazz style, classical style, or a mixture of both. The form of Hiromi's performance is quite simple. She begins with the opening measures to Pachelbel's Canon, she ends with the final measures of Pachelbel's Canon, and she improvises on the chaconne changes in the middle, the descending third sequence, called the Romanesca, that the canon is known for. In both the live in Marciac and recorded performances, while playing the left-hand introduction, Hiromi sets metal rulers in the treble strings of the piano. This gives the treble register a harpsichord-like sound, thereby embodying the music of the Baroque era. Let's have a listen to this. Hiromi does not keep the rulers in the piano for the full performance, however. After playing the melody of Pachelbel's Canon, she transitions to a left-hand solo. The melodies of the solos from the live and recorded versions are slightly similar, yet distinctly improvised. While the left hand plays, the right hand reaches into the piano and removes the rulers. In the live version, Hiromi even taps the rulers on the inside of the piano, adding a percussive element to the performance. This entire passage serves as a transition from the head to the solo section. To conclude the left-hand solo, the right hand enters playing an A Mixolydian flat 2 scale, leading into the solo section. Let's now discuss the chord progression that the entire performance is based. Although Pachelbel's Canon is a true canon at the unison, Hiromi's performance is more of Pachelbel's chaconne. She doesn't include the canonical elements into her performance, instead electing to use the chord progression of Pachelbel's Canon as a vehicle for improvisation. As mentioned before, this chord progression, the Romanesca, is a descending third sequence. The sequence is as follows: 1, 5, 6, 3, 4, 1, 4, 5, repeating indefinitely. This progression is an element from the classical tradition and is at the core of her distinctly jazz performance. Hiromi varies the way the chord progression is played. At the beginning of her performance, she plays single notes in the bass like the cello would play. But as the tune progresses, she transitions into her signature stride bass. Let's now talk about the solo section, an element of the performance that is distinctly jazz. All of her solos are primarily diatonic, using the D major or Ionian scale. This scale works over all of the chords in the stride-based Romanesque accompaniment. Hiromi occasionally includes the flat 6 scale degree, as shown here, creating a harmonic major tonality. This is especially true over the dominant, as the Mixolydian flat 2 mode is commonly used over the 5 chord. Hiromi also includes plenty of chromatic non-chord tones, such as incomplete neighbors, and passing tones. She also incorporates the blue third, F natural, in her solos. And, perhaps most importantly, the solo section swings. Let's have a listen to this passage. This particular example is highly emblematic of the jazz style, but motivically framed in a standard classical formal structure, the sentence. Notice the two basic ideas of 2 measures each, followed by a longer continuation of 4 measures. This particular continuation shows fragmentation and liquidation of the basic idea, but are played in a jazzy way, a 3/4 note hemiola. Let's listen again with this formal structure in mind. This is not the only time Hiromi would organize her solo into a sentence structure. She plays sentences multiple other times in the album and live performances. In the live version, Hiromi sets up a left-hand solo while the right hand plays an ostinato. This kind of solo is common for Hiromi, as she does it in her performances of I Got Rhythm at the Proms in 2017, Billy's Bounce at the 13th Tokyo Jazz Festival in 2014, and on other tunes at other venues. After soloing for 2 choruses, she seamlessly transitions into the melody of Pachelbel's Canon played in the left hand, which subsequently transitions back into the right hand solo with left hand accompaniment. Let's have a listen to this passage. This solo is unlike a traditional performance of Pachelbel's Canon. In a traditional performance, the lowest voice, the cello, never gets to play the melody, yet Hiromi has her lowest voice play it while the upper voice is playing an ostinato. In my talk, I have examined some jazz features, classical features, and some mixture of both as found in Hiromi's Pachelbel's Canon. This stylistic combination might well suggest Hiromi Uehara as a harbinger of our changing musical landscape, as we wonder, what does it mean to be a Japanese pianist playing a piece based on a work by a German composer within an idiom largely associated with North America, particularly with the Black American experience? And, in a larger sense, we may wonder, what are the implications of musical hybridity in general? Does hybridity represent cultural appropriation, or cultural enrichment, or both? And how could we tell the difference? I welcome your thoughts on this. Thank you.